This is what it's been, just times 10, this whole night. Oh. And now it's to the dentist. Again. Yep. Whoever says Spain is only sun and good times is lying. We're at the very south of Spain now. It's 12 degrees outside and raining and it's windy. Alright, back again. This thing used to bother the shit out of me. So, sorry, I haven't enough. Now it sounds even more ridiculous than I usually do. Yeah, this thing used to bother the shit out of me. Now it's out and I'm freaking stoked. And the stoke level is only increasing. We are gonna go to the store and buy a new camera. I'm looking to buy today. It's the best camera you can ever have for BMX riding. Thank you, bye. Is this bulletproof or something? Alright guys, so here you have it. This is the GoPro Hero 6, the newest one. And it's without doubt the best equipment for filming BMX stuff with. Before we start, one thing I want to say, GoPro has not paid me to say this. This product is just so... Not only are they small, they're also waterproof and shockproof. Like, you can just throw them around. Like, look at this. If I would treat any of these ones the same way I do with this, these ones would be gone in absolutely no time. Battery life are good. It's a high frame rate, which I find pretty important when you're filming BMX stuff, because when you do trick, you want to see every motion of it. And you got 4K. I never use 4K, but people use 4K, go for it. See, to explain it like this, I have loads of cameras. This one is a Sony a6500. The body itself cost about $2,000. At least that's what I paid for it, or even more. The lens is another 300. This little bad boy over here paid 1,100 euros for it. The camera that I'm recording with now is about $1,000. Just this lens to this camera that I'm recording with right now, $1,300. Long story short, camera gear is super expensive. These ones, not so expensive. If I only could choose one camera that I could have, no doubt it would be the GoPro. GoPro, you can strap it on you can film with it like normal, you can mount it to a drone, you can throw it in water, nothing happens, and they shockproof. The reason I bought this one is because this one is now starting to wear out. I've just lost the camera way too many times on the ground, so the lens is all like scratched up. So the image is getting kind of blurry on it. And as this is the main tool that I use for this channel, this and this one, my most viewed video ever that's been put on this channel is filmed 90% with this one and the house to it, nothing else. See, the message I want to put out to you, you don't need a lot of money these days to start making videos. You just need something that drives you, something from inside. Alright, so that's the first time talking about gear on this channel. I hope you liked it, and maybe that I inspired any of you. And come on. Minus points to GoPro. It's not charged up when you get it, so you have to plug it in and charge it up, and then you can use it. Unfortunately, as my wisdom tooth is just pulled out, I'm unable to ride today. I'm actually gonna listen to the dentist for once. You don't want this whole thing to swell up and be all nasty and stuff. I'll test this out in the skate park and give it a review in a couple days. So, unfortunately, no riding today, but I'm gonna use the time to answer a question I'm being asked almost every single day. What is your worst injury? As a BMX rider, you take a lot of falls, and some riders get injured more than others. I've always had this way of thinking when it comes to riding, and even though how crazy this might sound to some of you, throughout the years, BMX riding has been my only way to real happiness. So the only way for me to maintain my happiness inside was to be very, very, very careful when riding and trying new tricks. And I do know for a fact that for some of you riders out there, that is the worst thing ever. You love risking your life, you love adrenaline, you want to go fast and high and all of that. And for sure, I do too. But if I do that and I miss out and crash, life is gonna be hard. Alright, so because of this riding style, being very, very careful every single time, especially when I'm trying new tricks and in general, if I feel insecure on a trick, I'm not doing it. Because of this way of riding, I haven't really had a lot of injuries. I mean, I've been riding almost every single day for 12 years. When I was 17 or something, I think I had a riding streak of like 730 days. 730 days in a row with riding, never skipping a single day. I haven't really had a lot of injuries. I usually say I've had 3 major injuries in my riding career. You see this finger? This one will always be bigger than this one. That's because I fractured it when I was 15. No biggie, I can live with that. 2 years ago I had a stress fracture in my right ankle, which is one of the worst injuries I've been through. This happened after a long summer of winning a lot of contests, traveling and never chilling. I feel like I barely slept this summer. Have you ever had a landing so hard that you can barely hold your weight on the pedals and your ankle goes like this, and then you can try to do that multiple times, that the talus, which is inside here, start pushing these knuckles out so much that your bone here will start cracking out this way. Yep, that happened to me 2 years ago, and I was about 13 weeks off the bike. Probably the worst 13 weeks of my entire life. And the real bad thing about that was doctors couldn't give me a real answer if it's gonna heal up properly or not. So they said we have to wait 13 weeks, and if it hasn't grown together, we will have to do surgery and you're gonna get over a year off the bike. Not a cool message to get from the doctors. But I healed up, it was all fine, it was just 13 horrible. Alright guys, to the very last and the very worst. I don't even think I've told you guys about this accident. It happened in 2000, it's a long time ago now. It's 3 years ago actually. And the serious thing about it is I could have lost my life. Literally, I could have lost my life that night. Like, not like YouTuber trying to get attention, clickbait, blah blah blah, kind of serious. Like, literally, I almost bled to death. Alright, so the whole thing took place at Simple Session in 2014. This was my 3rd year of competing in Simple Session, and I had practiced so many crazy tricks for this contest and really had the hopes up to get to the finals for the first time in my life. So I had this new trick that I just had learned. People argue about it if it's called a Flare 540 or a Corked Out 900. You can call it whatever you want. Only problem, I'd only done that trick 5 times in my entire life. And when you compete in Simple Session, you have 2 practices, and 40 minutes into the second practice, still no Flare 540. And I looked at the clock and I was like, oh shit, 20 minutes left. Now I really have to go do that Flare 540. I was incredibly scared, and I didn't find a comfortable court to try it on. Only this huge 12 feet vert ramp. And this is the only, and when I say only, I mean only time I've ever done a scary trick without feeling comfortable. And you can see what that resulted in. This clip does in no way show how gnarly that fall was. Boom! I'd over-rotated the Flare 540 and I landed almost 3 meters straight to here, which is where your kidney is. I did the rotation, I remember it very clearly, feeling in the air, I was absolutely over-rotating. So I stretched out, I tried to slow it down, no chance, and I just felt the hardest crash impact to my body. Bang! I was on the ground. I knocked the wind out of myself. 10 seconds later, I started puking. I got carried out on the board by the paramedic. This was without doubt the strongest and most intense pain I've ever felt. It was like a pain on the inside of your body. It was gnarly. They gave me strong painkillers, I got rushed to the hospital and hooked up to a lot of machines. This was in Estonia. Most people, when I tell this story, they be like, oh, isn't it scary being on the hospital in Estonia? It's absolutely the same as being on a hospital in Norway, except they had Wi-Fi. So I got hooked up to a lot of machines. I couldn't move or anything, so I was like just laying in the bed, looking up in the roof, and then I suddenly got the message. you have internal bleedings, strong internal bleedings. And that can be dangerous, because if as it's on the inside, you have no way to stop the bleeding, and then you can actually bleed to death. So I was laying in the bed, and the first thing I was thinking, I can actually die now. And to legit have that feeling that you're gonna die is one of the weirdest things ever. Like, you're convinced that this might be your last day of living. I didn't get panic or anything like that. The first thing I was thinking, like, what about my family? What about my girlfriend? What about everything? I didn't think about myself at all. And then like 15 minutes later, I got the answer. Ola, you have kidney damage. Your kidney damage is so bad. If it doesn't stop to bleed soon, we will have to take it out, or else you will bleed to death. Fortunately, it stopped bleeding. And it was all over. Well, not really over. I laid at the hospital in Estonia for 2 days. Then, as I had insurance, I got picked up in a small plane by Norwegian doctors. They flew me back in this tiny flight back to Norway. 4 more days in the hospital, and then I had 10 weeks ahead of laying in the bed. Insanely boring, but after those 10 weeks, it was all over.